While corporate media outlets and diplomatic bodies navigate the conflict through vague terminology, the 1948 Genocide Convention provides a precise clinical framework for measuring material destruction. The primary legal threshold under the convention requires proving the explicit intent to destroy a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group, in whole or in part. This ideological framework was established by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu when he invoked the biblical narrative of Amalek, a directive to utterly destroy an entire population. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant translated that ideology into military policy, ordering a complete siege based on his classification of the population as human animals. President Isaac Herzog further solidified this stance by publicly removing the concept of civilian immunity, stating that an entire nation out there is responsible. These directives were clearly understood by forces on the ground, serving as the publicly recorded, legally required proof of genocidal intent, dictated from the highest levels of the state. Ideological directives manifested as a systematic campaign of physical liquidation across the territory. The results are visible in the flattening of over 70% of Gaza's housing stock and the intentional destruction of every university and major medical facility. The military execution involved ordering 2.3 million civilians into shrinking, unlivable humanitarian zones, and then systematically bombing those exact coordinates. Forcing a population into confined targets creates the deliberate conditions for physical destruction, an eradication of this scale that is managed through a specific analytical architecture. Modern state violence is optimized by integrating civilian consumer electronics into military intelligence networks through elite cyber warfare divisions like Unit 8200 and Mossad. These divisions deploy zero-day exploits and scrape telecom data to map out the familial and social networks of the entire trapped population. Alex Karp's Palantir Technologies serves as the core analytical architect for the Israeli Ministry of Defense, providing the triage systems necessary to process this civilian metadata. Palantir's software feeds surveillance feeds and social media footprints into algorithmic matrices to industrialize the selection of targets. By generating human and infrastructural targets at a velocity that exceeds manual triage, the system effectively removes the window for individual ethical review. When the algorithm registers a target based on phone activity, a bomb is deployed, and an entire residential block is wiped off the map. Silicon Valley's data mining algorithms have automated the destruction of Gaza, creating a high-speed assembly line of kinetic strikes. This algorithmic slaughter requires a logistical infrastructure capable of maintaining absolute control during a sustained siege. Israel systematically severed Gaza's landline and cellular networks to plunge millions into a total information blackout. While Elon Musk performs neutrality, SpaceX and its Starlink constellation operate deeply within the orbit of state defense architectures. By coordinating terminal access with Israeli defense priorities, satellite technology enforces the asymmetric information dominance required to control a trapped population. Commercial space technology is weaponized to trap a civilian population in a digital blackout, while kinetic strikes are synchronized from above. International accountability for this documented AI slaughter is paralyzed by the role of the United States. The first pillar of this complicity is the material supply, with the executive branch bypassing congressional oversight to fast-track billions of dollars in precision-guided munitions and artillery. The second pillar is the diplomatic shield, the consistent weaponization of the U.S. veto within the UN Security Council to strike down ceasefire resolutions. The final pillar is active legal intervention, where the United States takes the highly unconventional step of intervening at the International Court of Justice. By invoking Article 63, the U.S. provides a formal legal defense to actively shield the Israeli state from judicial accountability. Without this triad of U.S. material, diplomatic, and legal support, the economic and logistical reality of this erasure would be impossible to sustain. Dehumanizing state rhetoric established the legal framework, and commercial tech provided the automated means to execute it. The United States cemented the operation by providing the limitless funding and the impenetrable legal shield required to maintain the assembly line. This convergence of ethno-state violence, Silicon Valley algorithms, and U.S. military support creates a template for automated eradication that exists beyond international law.